Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our second to last live stream in this format. I say it like
Yeah,
that because we have
yeah,
other.
yeah.
Well,
We
we'll
have
talk more about
plans.
that.
We have plans.
Um, but as we typically do once a month, it is time yet again for Ask an Astronomer, where we're here to answer your questions. And I missed introductions because I went off script at the beginning. Hi, I'm Jessica. I'm the director of the Planetarium. With me is one of our students, familiar face here now, but I will still let them introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Brayden. I'm a vocal music ed major here at UMD. I don't know why I said that like a robot. It's been a long day.
It,
It's been a
you'd
day.
think with finals over, but I think
No, I
we
know, I
it
know.
just it doesn't, well, because
It doesn't stop.
our time hasn't stopped because field trips
No, yeah,
are ongoing and you have taken those this week so far, which I
yep,
appreciate,
yeah.
which has let me work on other things. But yeah, it's school being done doesn't end for us because K through 12 is still in school.
Oh yes, oh yes. And not to mention like birthday parties and everything like that as well.
I mean, I
So
think we've got what, over the next week we have 8 field trips, something like
yeah,
that.
it's
Yeah,
so many.
it's a
It's so
lot. It's
many.
a
I'm
lot.
excited though. I'm excited though. I
Oh, they're
love working
so
on these.
much fun.
They're really
Yeah.
fun.
All right. So since we are an Ask an Astronomer, we want to answer your questions. I do see my mom already has one. I read that water was found on a comet. What is the significance of this discovery? And I sorry we didn't plan this, but this was actually one of the topics I had to talk about because it is very cool. Or maybe it was an asteroid. So a little bit of both. Okay, back up here. Comets are chunks of mostly ice, but usually ice and rock, left over from the formation of the planets. They pretty much live out past Jupiter, out in the outer solar system in either the Kuiper Belt or the Oort cloud. And this is significant because it's very cold out there, so those ices stay as an ice, and the comet stays together as like a little dirty snowball. There wasn't a lot of water, carbon dioxide, that sort of thing available to form planets out of in the inner solar system. So things like Earth, we didn't start out with a lot of that stuff. So the prevailing idea has been that comets from the outer solar system got slung in and hit the Earth, and that's what delivered most of our water, methane, carbon monoxide, all of that. But we've had to figure out, a mechanism for so many comets to hit us and deliver that material to us. So, what my mom has brought up is there is a comet that has been found in the asteroid belt, which happens because when comets come in amongst the planets, gravity tugs on things and changes orbits. And so a comet that starts out, far away, having an orbit taking it really far out from the planets, can get trapped inside the main solar system through these gravitational interactions. But the idea has always been that any comets that got trapped would lose their ices very quickly because they're so much closer to the sun. So the significance of finding a comet with its water and ices intact in the asteroid belt means that we may not have had to have all of these comets deliver water from far away. We could have had clouds of comets that got trapped in the inner solar system and kept their ices long enough for them to then hit Earth and then deposit them to us. So it's kind of giving us a new mechanism for how we came to be, pretty much, which is pretty cool. Another really weird thing they found was they found a lot of water ice, but they didn't find a lot of carbon dioxide ice, which doesn't actually seem that surprising because carbon dioxide vaporizes at a lower temperature. So it would evaporate away a lot faster than water ice would. So yeah, that's what that discovery was and why it was important. It's very cool. Part of the reasons why we're still interested in studying asteroids and comets because that's the building blocks that we formed from. And so this gives us new mechanisms that could have delivered our vital water, which is pretty cool. All right. I went on a long tangent for that question, but it was fun. I liked
It was good. It was good.
it. Well, I felt like there needed some background context to it, right?
No, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
All right. If anyone else has questions, go ahead and put them in the chat or the comments. It's the comments.
Yeah.
Um, do you want to talk about a news
I
thing you
found
found?
a couple of things actually.
Okay.
The first thing I found I think is actually it's not the one I was telling you about. It's a different one. Uh it seems that a astronomer from Israel has now found what seems to be a red nova basically eating a planet. Here, let
Interesting.
here, I can put it in here. This is like the actual like paper itself. So, but the actual the thing is right there, and it has a nice artist interpretation of it right there. But it was back in 2020. Yeah, it seems like astronomers noticed a red supernova, and uh, basically that it is all but confirmed that when they witnessed it destroying one of its orbiting planets, which
It's definitely
is
something we thought happened.
but now we can see,
Yeah.
and that's pretty. I think that's incredibly rad.
Oh, this is
Other
really
than
cool.
that, there's of course I want to talk about the uh I think the longer I work here, the more obsessed I get with exoplanets. And
That'll
so
happen.
now I have to talk about tests for a little bit. I will put this in the chat as well. I would share my screen, but I do not know how well my internet would hold up with that. So it is in the chat. Feel free to look at it. But Tess basically found uh, an exoplanet that is very similar in size to Earth, called LP 79118D, and it basically is completely covered in volcanoes. So it's essentially just Mustafar from Star Wars, which is awesome, and it's it's just so cool to look at. Uh, I haven't had the time to. They released a paper about it, which you can see on NASA's website, but I haven't had the time to actually read it yet. But I think after this is done, I may be doing some light reading as it looks awesome. But it seems it orbits a small red dwarf about 90 light years away from the in the southern constellation of Crater is what it's called. And
So Io's going to have some competition for most volcanically active, is what I'm hearing.
I think it might, yeah. It seems it seems it's the planet is slightly larger and just a bit more massive than Earth. So
Yeah.
that means it's pretty big, and especially for like a volcanically active planet, like if this planet's bigger than Earth, that basically doesn't that kind of squash Io's record at that point?
I guess it depends on how we measure it,
I suppose.
but I mean, Io is pretty continuously
True,
erupting.
true.
But that is in part because of its small size, right? It's easier to do.
So it seems that from the more I'm reading this, it seems like it's a similar case to Io. It's caught in between planets. Uh it seems like it kind of gets caught between planets D and C during its orbits, and then that like gravitational field almost seems to affect it a little bit. It seems like, but what it's pointing out is that that's making its orbit somewhat elliptical. So
Yeah, and that'll exacerbate things, add more heat and energy to
yeah,
what's probably an already pretty hot and energetic interior, which would
oh
drive
yeah.
up all of those geologic activity.
But the main reason I like pointing it out is because there's an artist rendition of it again. That's one of my favorite things
Yeah.
just about astronomy is seeing the artist, and it looks awesome. It looks incredibly cool. I'm gonna try to
Mm,
share my screen for this, just for this,
okay.
just because I think, uh, I think, yeah,
Yeah.
think that is amazing. And yep, my thing is lagging. There you go.
Go
Okay, I'm gonna stop
ahead
my
and
share
go
before
ahead,
my
stop.
yeah before my
So
before my
I have another exoplanet one. This
yippee.
one from James Webb, which
Oh,
also
of
gives us our
course.
James Webb update. So James Webb is also looking at planets around other stars, exoplanets. The tests that Braden was just talking about, that one is designed to find planets, but it also is able to get some information to help us figure out kind of what type of planet it is, and in this case, if there's any sort of strange activity or things like that. James Webb is helping us to follow up on a lot of the exoplanets we know of because it's able to get better images and better spectra to give us more information about these exoplanets.
Mm,
So it was studying one Gliese 1214b. These
hmm.
have fabulous names to them. um, and this one has been so it's a Neptune sized planet
Oh,
that is relatively close to its star. It's not close enough to really be like a super hot Jupiter planet. But these Neptune sized are some of them are expected to be not uh, like Neptune, but actually to be like actual water worlds. And that's what was originally expected for this planet. But we noticed that it had really, really, really thick clouds, which made it difficult to learn anything about what's going on inside or underneath those clouds. So James Webb was able to study it more. We found out that it is pretty hot, and those clouds seem to be mostly steam. So it's believed that this
wait.
planet, yeah, so it's believed this planet may have been a water world, um, and that it started out further away from its star, but then it migrated closer and got heated up, and that water evaporated. So now it's basically a world with a thick atmosphere of steam, which is really cool.
And it's water. We know it's water,
Yeah,
right? Is that we?
yeah, because with Spectra we
So
can figure that out.
so that opens the era to the possibility that at one point during that planet's before it actually migrated, there may have been some sort of like microscopic biological life on there
Yep.
that got cooked.
Well,
Well,
I mean,
actually,
depending on
there actually,
there
I
are
suppose there could,
extremophiles.
I suppose there could be like, there's technically, I suppose there could be life there if it's still just steam and it's not like it'll be incredibly hot, of course, but
Yeah.
with like evolution, we can it, animals can adapt to pretty much anything
And
given.
it depends on like how quickly this happened, because if it was a slow change, then yeah, life forms could have adapted,
Yeah,
which would be cool.
that's incredibly awesome.
But they found that even though it's hot, it's actually cooler than it should be, which is thanks to those clouds. The clouds are really reflective, so it actually reflects the light
Oh,
off of the upper clouds before it gets down into the atmosphere. So it's actually keeping It's weird. It's like the opposite of what you would expect from a dense water-filled atmosphere, steam-filled atmosphere, but it doesn't actually get into the atmosphere because
Yeah,
those upper layers are so reflective. And so that actually keeps the planet a little bit cooler than it would be otherwise.
that
Still very
is
hot.
kind of crazy, actually.
Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
just a new type of exoplanets. I think that's one of the really exciting things as we
Just
have been
casually.
finding them. There's so much more than just the types we find here in our solar system. There's such a wide range of properties that planets can have.
That's what I love the most probably is that I I think here I think like especially like on Earth and within like thinking within our like solar system, we can get so like bogged down in like this is what life is, for example. This is what this is what a planet looks like. And
Yeah.
it, it the universe is big. It's really big.
And we have, one data point.
Exactly.
You That's part of why we're searching for other things because we need more data to be able to make these conclusions about what life needs to survive. Like we can look based off of what life we know needs, but that doesn't mean that that's the only criteria.
Yep.
Yeah, it's weird. Like this is one of my favorite topics to talk about,
Oh yeah.
especially when you get into the what is life? Because like you come up with scientists have come up with like I think it's 7 criteria for what defines life. But if you look at these criteria, honestly, something like a computer virus actually
I was
fits
gonna
most of
say.
them.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Do I still talk about this in 1040? It's.
Uh I think so. I
I
think you
think I did a
did
little bit. I think I did a
a
little bit.
little bit.
I'm showing how long it's been since I've looked at my lecture recordings.
Yeah, it's been it's been a minute since I've thought since I really thought about.
Yeah. So like a computer virus fits into that definition of life.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so you get into these really philosophical debates of what is life. And I love that. I love those conversations and those topics. And yeah,
Well, now if we're talking about life, I have to talk about my favorite moon in our solar system
I mean,
for
yeah.
5 minutes. Uh, there's a moon that orbits around Jupiter called Europa, and it's supposedly supposed to launch in about a year, 4 months, 22 days, 6 hours, 40 minutes from now. Um, the I don't actually know that off the top of my head. I'm reading it off the thing. That'd be really funny. But they're currently they're in this. Ooh, last time I checked, they weren't. They're currently in the assembly stage. Last time I checked, they were in the waiting on everything to arrive. But now they're actually building the Clipper. Oh, that's
Nice.
awesome. So basically, what it is they're building what's essentially just a satellite to fly around the icy moon and just basically just test various pieces of ice that fly off of it and everything like that, which would be which will be amazing
Yeah.
and will most likely, mo- mo-
And it's
hopefully, hopefully showcase life. Here, I'll put it in the chat.
well, and also, I mean, part of the mission is also to scout for future missions so that we could have something that actually lands on Europa and
Yeah.
studies it. But yeah, that's pretty cool. If you want to learn more about it, Braden's just created a new display all about Europa, which will go up sometime this week.
Sometime.
Sometime this week. Well, I feel like if
Indeed.
we're gonna mention moons, I have to mention the other big news that came out this past week.
Oh yeah.
That Saturn has regained the crown of King of the Moons. So the title was held by Saturn, and then we found 12 more around Jupiter, so Jupiter took the crown back. So we had Jupiter at 92, although I think it's at
92.
95 now.
It was actually no, it was at I think it was at 93 if I remember correctly.
It was at 93, but I think a couple more because when I looked the other day, it was Jupiter was up to 95.
Yeah, that's what it's at now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and so Saturn was at 83. Um, but they just announced 62 new moons discovered around Saturn, bringing it up to a whopping 145.
Wait,
Yeah, there was even
wait,
more since when I texted you guys.
wait. Oh my lord.
Because I think I texted you guys
62?
and was like, it's at 114. And then later that night, it got up to 124. And then
Yeah.
now it's at 145.
That is I mean, whenever in the shows that I give, whenever I get to like Jupiter and Saturn specifically, I always like to say that it's most likely they have more moons that we just haven't
Yeah,
discovered yet. I like
absolutely.
to add that I like to add that asterisk just because Jupiter they're so far away and most of the moons are so small. Most of them are so small. So like
Well, and then you also have, like, when it comes to these, because these planets also have rings.
yeah, exactly.
And so you have to kind of have the deciding factor of what size do you stop calling it a moon and you start calling it something else, like a ring particle. And I don't actually know what that cutoff is, but I know that these aren't near the rings, so they wouldn't
No, yeah.
be part of that. Um, yeah, so as a lot of not Jupiter, Saturn's moons, these new ones appear to also be fragments from past comets, which is partly, I believe, in my opinion, why Saturn does have so many, because you would initially just think Jupiter should have the most moons, right? It's the biggest planet, it's going to have the strongest gravitational pull, it sits right on the outer edge of the asteroid belt, so any asteroids that get too close, it's going to grab onto them. Any comets flying by, it's going to grab onto them. It just would make sense. But I think with Saturn, Saturn did capture several comets, as opposed to Jupiter has mostly asteroids. And asteroids are pretty strong, whereas comets, they're dirty snowballs. So as they get captured and interact, they're going to break into pieces. And so we
Mm.
end up having a lot more moons because you have these comets that fragmented into smaller pieces, and you end up with more pieces overall. So I think in my personal opinion, that's what's going on here and why we found more. But again, there's probably even more. And when you
Yeah.
start including particles in the rings or in the hundreds of thousands of objects circling these planets. So
Oh yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, no. New official number for a number of moons for Saturn is 145.
That that's so insane.
And I cannot wait until our system gets an update so that we can put all 145 orbits up around Saturn.
That is going okay. That's gonna like hurt my eyes to fly through. Oh my
Well, I
lord.
will say, and this is you guys getting a little bit of behind the scenes, as I build the panels for the shows, I'm not going to have moon orbits on automatically. We'll have a
Okay.
button to turn those on and
Okay.
off.
That would be kind.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we're starting to get to the point, especially with Saturn, where you're not even gonna be able to see the planet anymore.
What I'd like to do is have a couple of different moon buttons so we could do
Yeah.
the regular moons and then the captured moons, and you can showcase them
Oh,
differently.
that'd be awesome.
Um, but it's just down to me getting into the coding, which is why
And
right
also,
now everything just shows because it was very simple coding to get done.
well, yeah, that's that. Then you'd have to go through and be like, okay, this moon goes here, this moon goes here, this moon goes here. I, and especially I've
Well, and that's what I'm saying.
for
Like, I have to
yeah,
check to see, like, if Digistar already has them in groups or in categories, then I may be able to
yeah,
just say, turn this group of moons on, or turn this group of moons orbits on. And then I don't have to code every single individual moon to be a part of the button.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I have to get in it and start coding, which will happen very soon.
yeah.
Because, ooh, should we spill more about
I say go
why?
for it. I say go for it. Do it.
We purchased a new projection and software system for our portable dome. So that is going to be hopefully relaunching this summer with our Dark Sky Caravan. And the one of the big factors for why we purchased a new one um, is it is the same software that we use in house, which means all of the shows we build to do in the planetarium here, we can take on the road. And it's just a matter of copying over that control panel, and everything is there, and we can do everything on the road that we do in house. Which I'm very excited for. But that means that I finally have to build all the control panels.
I, I think it's really important to say how long and tedious of a process that is. If you guys have never had like any like little bit of coding experience, if you mess up one thing, the entire system just doesn't work. Well, not Digistar itself, but the entire
No,
thing you're trying to get done
yeah.
doesn't work.
And every
I've
single button that I make on a control panel has to be individually coded.
Yeah,
So it's a very long, tedious process, which is why I've been putting it off. And we have like our shows are not like I'm not suffering or anything.
no,
Like we've built our shows in a great way that gives fantastic ones. The control panel is just going to be easier to give those shows rather than
oh
having
yeah,
to go into like individual settings as we're flying to objects. Everything will just be on a nice panel and you can just click.
yep.
I just haven't built it yet, but it's gonna happen. Just put on some music, turn down the lights, vibe in the planetarium, and code for several hours. It'll be good.
That's what I've been doing with captionings.
Yep.
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 Because that's another thing we've been trying to get to do lately is get closed captions for all of our shows. And a lot of the shows don't have closed captions already made, so we have to make them ourselves, and it's a very long and tedious process.
Yes.
But it's a
That
good one,
Braden
and
has very, very thankfully taken up for us. But that does mean sitting and watching the same movie over and over and over again to get all of the timings and all of the language. And yeah.
by by listen to if I have to sit through Cosmic Colors, and
Hey, you're going to have to on Saturday.
no, I know. It's not bad. I like Cosmic Colors. Cosmic Colors is great.
It's fine. It's
Yeah.
good. All right. Well, I think we're coming up on our time. I don't see any other questions. So let's take one more call for any last questions you may have. While we wait to see if we get any, here is our show schedule for the upcoming week. On Friday, we're doing Journey Through the Solar System. Saturday at 2 p.m. is Cosmic Colors, and then at 7 p.m. is the Hot and Energetic Universe. And then you can join us back here next Wednesday for our very last stream of this format, where we will be talking all about the Northern Lights. And let me just clarify what I mean in this format. Um, we are switching, starting with the first Wednesday of June, to doing in-person shows on Wednesdays. Before COVID, we always ran free shows on Wednesdays. So we're bringing those back in June. But we're planning to still be able to stream these shows. We're still getting the audio issues figured out, but the plan is to still stream those and have those up for our wonderful viewers who
Yeah.
maybe aren't in Duluth. It will look different because the show will
Because
be
we'll be
created for the dome.
yeah.
But we're still hoping to do it. So that's why I'm saying streaming in this format. Our last one is going to be next week. And yes, I do realize there is one more week of May, but I decided to give us that week off so that we could have just a little bit more prep time to get
Yeah.
everything ready for June.
Yep.
And we're really excited about the switch because we've had some shows kind of that we've had worked on for this format that we've been wanting to bring into the dome.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to be bringing like the Star Wars show that Eli recreated and Braden has taken back over. We're going to be bringing that into the dome. We're going to be bringing this Aurora show that I'm going to do next week. We're going to be bringing it into the dome, and it's going to feature actual full dome Aurora videos. It's going to look beautiful. So we're really excited to be able to bring people back and to give the opportunity to have those in the area come to the planetarium for free, because we know our regular shows do have a cost because it does cost money to run the planetarium, but
Yep.
I do like being able to provide those free options for people. So yeah, that's where we're at. How I just hit my uncle
Oh no.
really hard. All right, that's my
No.
cue. We're gonna stop here.
Okay.
I'm not seeing any other questions, so I think we'll end it there. I will also say we're hoping to do a version of Ask an Astronomer live as well, where we'll still be
Yes.
able to take
Yes.
questions from stream. So this is not the last time you will see this show and this format. We're actually really excited to
It'll
do a
be really
version of
fun.
this
I'm
live.
really
Like,
excited.
yeah.
Yes.
All right. What was I doing? I was ending the stream. Thank you everyone for joining us. As always, have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next time. So, bye everyone.
Bye.